Lesson 4.9 is interpreting trig graphs in context. So asking you questions about this graph on all of the characteristics we already talked about. So this graph is talking about over a full year, daylight in a certain city follows a periodic pattern. The graph below represents the average daylight in minutes over the course of 24 months, which is our time t. So we've got our independent variable on the x-axis, the time in months, and then this is the average daylight in minutes, what we're measuring. And this is the month since January 1st of a certain year. So this would be like January, February, March, April, May, June, July, so on for 2 years. But anyways, it says, what is the midline and what does it represent? So a midline, remember, that's literally finding the middle. You can't really eyeball on this one because the numbers are different, but you're wanting to deal with the y values. So you're wanting to take the maximum y, because we're talking about daylight here. Maximum y is 919, add it to the 499, and then divide by 2. And that should get 709, and maybe I should go ahead and put minutes here too. And we were finding something with the y, so you're looking at the y-axis to tell you that was the minutes, and it's really finding the average daylight minutes. All right, part B is talking about the amplitude. And amplitude is really found by taking the maximum minus the minimum, the difference of this, and then dividing that, you'll get it. In this problem, since I've already found the midline, really all I need to do is take like the maximum, which is 919, and subtract it by my midline, which is 709. So kind of up to you how you want to approach that. But that should get you 210. And again, amplitude is talking about height, so that's dealing with our y, which is minutes. And something that you could say about this one is that it represents the difference, so difference means subtractions, the difference between the year's maximum, so up here at 919, and the average, which is our midline. So it could be saying something about the difference between the minimum and the average, or it could say half the distance of the min and the max. So the wording can change just a little bit, but you got to think about, you're finding either half the distance of here to here, or you're finding the distance from a max or a min to the average. All right, and then what is the period? Now we don't know if there's been a horizontal shift or not, so I wouldn't go off of the y-intercept on these. What I would do is go from here to here. So one max to max or min to min, if you've got actual points. And the period is the only part of the graph that we're dealing with a horizontal, so we're going to deal with the months. So we're actually going to subtract your 17.5 minus 5.5. And so that would be 12. And it would be months. And something you could say for this one is the time between consecutive daylight highs or lows. So 12 months is a whole year. So it's saying from this high to this high was 12 months, but it's consecutive. So from one high to the next high, or one min to the next min would be the period. But it's the key word is it's the time. It's not a height. And then the other two are easier because it just says what is the maximum, what does it represent. So these are back to a y value. The maximum, the highest it ever got was 919 minutes. And something you might say about that is it's the year's daylight high. And then same thing for the minimum, but now we're talking about the 499 minutes. And it would be the year's daylight low. So you gotta be careful with their wording. Going back to figuring out, okay, a midline is saying some kind of average, and then the amplitude is half the distance of the whole min to max, or from the average to a high or average to a low. Period is a time from one consecutive high to another high, or one consecutive low to another low. And then min and max are just the y values, and that's that high or low of whatever data they've collected.